Oh, happy hump day, everybody. Welcome to the Cocktails with Cav Halloween special. I am so excited. I even have my special orange Hawaiian shirt on in honor of Halloween tonight. You are going to love tonight's show. These two creators, just fantastic guys, fantastic show. And we're going to talk about it in a few minutes. As always, please follow us, share the stream so more people can get to know these incredible indie creators. Tonight's show is brought to you by our friends at Run Amok Books. Check the description for their website. If you're an independent author, look, they really go the extra mile in helping writers maintain creativity. They're looking for extraordinary, different voices, and they're not afraid to take chances. So again, our good friends at Run Amok Books, if you're an independent author, looking for both fiction and nonfiction, looking for that little bit of extra help to get your book to the market. Run Amok Books. Check them out in the description. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get to it. That spooky Halloween special. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome to the stage my two great friends, Gregory Alexander Sharp and my good friend Finn from A Werewolf Story. Oh, Finn and Gregory, how are you guys? I'm so happy you could be joining us for the Halloween special. We're all getting ready spooky here in the United States, and I wanted to bring in my fine European counterparts with one of the greatest serial dramas on on podcast. How you guys doing?
Very good. I've been preparing the Halloween candy for the children tomorrow, getting sprouts and covering them in chocolate just to make them disappointed. You know?
and I've been raising the dead appropriately.
Yes. Well, at least you have candy. I think I even posted about it on X that the little suckers aren't getting anything good left. I've already eaten all the Reese's Cups and Kit Kats, so they're getting licorice and those nasty Nestle Crunches. Nobody.
Yeah. Well, you've got to look after their health. I think you're doing a fine job.
Absolutely, yes. Well, I am ready for Halloween. Spooked out. I have my gin. I'm being crisp tonight. How you guys doing over there?
I have a very Scottish drink, which is a pint of gin and tonic. Yes. Scottish know how to drink properly, I'm afraid. Yeah. So yeah,
very good.
Oh,
I've got myself a little Irish coffee there.
That's nice. Right. A little bleed in. No pun intended. But guys, oh my goodness, I've been looking forward to this Halloween special. I tell you what, you guys have just one of the finest, and I love it because I'm an old-time radio fan from back in the day, and it's very reminiscent of it. Great voice acting, great storylines, just fun all around, dark humor. But golly, we love to get the audience to find out about your podcast and you guys especially. So why don't you please tell us about yourself, how you got into this? Some good background.
My name is Fenrir Thorvaldsen, yes, which is my real name. And about 7 years ago, I had a very bad head injury while at work. And after that, and the recovery of that, I started writing a journal. And I realized that there was a very dark side to my nature. And basically what I did with the dark side of my nature is create this sort of anti-villain who is Will the werewolf, and then bring him to life in story form. And it was for sort of rebuilding my own self after the head injury that I created all this. And then my brother sat down one day and read some of the stuff that I'd written, and he said, "This is brilliant, you ought to do something with it." So I wrote a novel, and then after that, I just decided that the podcast seemed to be cool, and everyone was doing it. So I just, thought I'd be one of the cool kids and jump in. So yeah,
Right.
I just decided to write a podcast about someone who is absolutely really horrendous and horrible, a murderer, a killer, yet actually you tend to like him. And it's all from his point of view. So it's from the point of view of the werewolf.
No, that's fantastic. And so the episodes are stem from the stories you're creating yourself.
Yeah, what we do is we use an interesting writing method, which is instead of storyboarding it out and making sure we've got ends to everything like that, is what we do is we tend to sit down, me and Greg, at some point during the week and make it up and hope it fits. And it seems to have worked very well. Most of our characters have just been created on the spot, and then they've just turned into their own thing. And now the characters write themselves. They're just, now we know their personalities and we know who they are and how they are. And I've got 4 very fine actors who help me every week, and they know their characters. So if I write something wrong, they tell me straight away that's not what my character would say. So
well, that seems like some great synergy and cooperation you have going on, because obviously the product is doing well. A great show. And Greg, when did you get involved in, obviously I've had, and ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't had a chance to watch episode 17, I believe it is, but had Greg as a guest on the Cocktails with Cab show for his incredible werewolf novels, El Lupo and Kill and Cure. But when did you get involved with Fenn in the podcast, Greg?
Yeah, so it was around the time Il Lupo was coming out, and I was pretty much mainlining anything I could find to do with werewolves. If there was werewolf stuff in the media, I was just consuming it. So no surprise, I found the podcast, and I kind of got hooked on it quite early. And whilst I was building my presence on X, Fenn was tweeting some questions out. There was a couple of movies that I think he was researching for one of his books, and fired a few questions out about it, and I responded to it, and we had a little chat, and then there was another opportunity to have some contact on social media, and it suddenly became apparent that we viewed the subjects that we were discussing in a very similar way. And I really don't know how it happened after that, but the next thing you know, we've struck up quite a robust friendship quite quickly. And I spent a number of months sort of trying to catch up on the episodes of the podcast, and then listening to the new episodes as they came out. And just while I was out walking my dog, I'd voice message Fenn and say, I've just listened to this week's episode, absolutely brilliant, I love the way you did this, I love the way you did that. And then I guess the next thing we're sort of discussing upcoming plot lines together, and then Fenn very generously invited me to bring one of my characters from Il Lupo onto the show as an incidental character in one of the episodes, and to act the part myself as well. So we wrote Ernest Wainwright into episode 105, Looting the Museum. Check it out.
Who is your finest character? He is your finest character.
And that was Ernest, and he's resurfaced again recently, actually, if anyone's been listening recently.
Yeah, we did a podcasting first, which was to integrate your novel and the podcast. And the reason why I remember liking Greg almost instantly was I got this voice message saying, I'm walking my dog through the park and I'm laughing out loud and people are looking at me. I'm just glad they can't hear what I'm listening to. Because of the content that was in the thing. So yeah.
Well, like I said, obviously the synergy's working incredibly well. I mean, you guys are 177 episodes in, and obviously picked up by Spotify, and just an incredible, just an incredible series of episodes, and we're of course going to talk about some of them in a few minutes after the break, but just a fantastic show. And like you said, just that general dark humor, as well as that serial plot, and like I said, as a huge fan of old time radio, really the voice acting's incredible. Why don't you take us through a little of the production process as you go through these episodes? I mean, obviously you talked a little bit about the ideas for the storylines and plots, but take us through kind of a general production of the episodes.
What tends to happen is that I edit everything on a Tuesday and I release it, and then it goes out and I go, oh, and then I wake up on a Wednesday and I go, I don't know what I'm going to do. I have no idea what I'm going to do. I don't know. I haven't got a clue. Help. And then normally what I do is I message Greg and I go, I don't know what I'm doing. And then he'll come up with about 19 premises and go blah, 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 blah. And I'll go, oh, that's dead good. And then what I'll do is I will then have a look at all these premises, and then what I'll try to do is outdo him with his premises, and I'll say, yeah, but it could be better if we did this. And then he'll go, nah, it'd be better if we did this. And then basically it goes back and forth until we get to the point where we've got about 5,000 words, and we hope it makes sense. And then I write it on, hopefully for a Friday night, and the wonderful actors sort of fit it into their work log, and then it all is piled in front of me on a Monday, and I try my best to put it into something that actually makes kind of sense. So it's a really good fun process. I think we all have fun doing it, and I have a lot of time, which a lot of other people don't do, like Greg. Greg writes pieces every now and again in full form, but because you've got jobs and a life and everything, it makes it a bit more difficult for you. So yeah, that's just the kind of way we do. We just make it up as we go along, and it's good.
Well, and I tell you, the process obviously works, and it's always great when you enjoy what you're doing. I mean, like we talked about somewhat before the show, as we get, and if you haven't gotten a chance, guys and gals out in the audience, to interact with Fen or Greg, just please, by all means, give them a follow, and their screen names will be linked in the descriptions of the show. But just by all means, just fun to interact with in real life, and fun to interact with on this show for sure. So when you enjoy, like we talked about, it's I can't believe I'm 50 episodes in on Cocktails with Cav. The work flows.
It's been very interesting meeting some of the people that listen to this show as well. I've met also, I don't know if you've interacted with many, Greg, but I've met a were-unicorn who changes into a unicorn when the rainbows come out. I've met a number of vampires, and I could make millions by the number of requests a week I get for turning people into werewolves. Yeah, it's incredible. And then you get other people who say, this is just brilliant, I love it when I'm driving to work, I'll listen to it all the day. And then what I get is I normally get someone who's got to episode 64 and goes, when are you going to make some more? There's not enough. Please interact. I love it when people talk to me about it. It's great.
And Greg, when you talk about because obviously the genre you write in for your novels, how big of an influence does it play on your voice acting when you're performing for this podcast? Because obviously it's something that's close to your heart.
Yeah, for sure. And you know from the conversations we've had that my style is very much the sort of old school classic Gothic style horror, and some of the characterizations that we've come up with for particularly the Professor, who's a character that we've a recurring character now. He's in it most weeks, and he's a very sort of classic old school styled gentleman. And the characters sort of produce the inspiration for themselves in many respects. I mean, he was an interesting character, this one, because Fen came to me and said, I've got an idea that I want to have the police being supported by an expert in the occult and the supernatural. He's going to be some kind of university expert, but I don't really know anything about him. What should we do? So we kicked a few ideas around, and then we wanted to come up with a name. And one of us said, well, what about Simon? Yeah, Simon, fine. And it's like, oh, what about, I don't know, Simon de Montfort? And we're like, yeah, that sounds like a good name. And I said, hang on a minute, I'm sure there was a Simon de Montfort. So, rack the brains, and it's like, oh yes, he's actually considered the father of English democracy, and he was a famous knight in the 12th century. Well, it can't be him then, because he's dead. And then Fen said, but what if it was him? Right. So it is. So then we had to come up with a backstory and a premise for why this guy's like 800 years old and still kicking around. But he is a modern individual, but he keeps tumbling back into a very classical way of speaking, and he'll start quoting Shakespeare. There's we did a recent episode where he quotes John Keats, and the guy that he's talking to, Ernest Wainwright, says to him, well, unlike you, I never got to meet Keats. And he's like, yes, he always did have a way with words, So we throw something like that, which is a lot of fun.
I love the fact about the professor that throughout history, anything accidental that shouldn't have happened is kind of blamed on the professor. So certain battles with Nelson, the problems there, and I think the professor might have had an issue with making the atomic bomb, giving the wrong ideas to the wrong people, and he often comes up and goes, well, if so and so had listened to me, this wouldn't have happened. Custer's last stand and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, if Custer had listened to me and not gone over that hill, he'd have been fine.
Oh, geez, and Pete. Well, I tell you, I guess the question everybody wants to know, because here in America, obviously, we're doing Halloween. What do you guys do for Halloween on your end?
I'm going tomorrow to a very small fishing village called Johnshaven, where they're having a huge party, which, when we say huge in Scotland, because we're in the northeast of Scotland, there will be about 150 people there, which is a huge party for the northeast of Scotland. And we will do the very Scottish thing of getting as drunk as possible until someone falls over. That's normally what happens, yeah.
That sounds like my kind of party on Cocktails with Cav. Live stream for us from.
Yeah, well, my Halloweens are very different to how they used to be. I mean, my Halloweens in years gone by used to be a bit of a thing. There'd often be a fancy dress party. I used to love the concept of going to a masquerade ball and finding out that Dracula was secretly there. Just imagine. But that never happened, and I got fed up waiting for it to. So now what I tend to do is switch the lights out and hide from the kids that are coming around asking for sweets, because I'm a bit tight like that.
That's right. Just so most people realize, since we did usurp the holiday from you guys, right?
Well, you guys do it better than we do. I mean, we will get dressed up and have fun, but we've kind of stolen it back. So you make a much bigger thing of Halloween, but I think it's definitely coming sort of back to being a big holiday here, because the Scottish invented it, apparently.
Or Hallows Eve, yeah. It's the tradition. I think the tradition of trick-or-treating may also have started in some form or another in Scotland as well. We're going to have to be fact-checked on this. I bet you've got fact-checkers associated with the show who can help us out, but I'm pretty sure that was...
I really hope not. We make everything up, so that'd be really bad.
Yeah.
We'll get us a community note on X. That's what... Oh, well, all this talk of getting a Scottish drinking party for Halloween, I have to refill my cocktail on this one. But guys, when we get back, please, by all means, let's talk about this incredible serial killer drama, Werewolf the podcast, when we get back.
Okie dokie.
Okay, everybody, got to pay those bills. Quick mid-roll break real fast. Look, as an Amazon affiliate, I only advertise products I truly believe in, and I wanted to give everyone a heads up on this incredible product that I use myself, especially when traveling. You cannot go wrong with the Camrui Mini Desktop PC. with 16 gigs DDR4 RAM, as well as a 512 gig hard drive. It's as powerful as the big, huge desktop I have at home in my office. And when I'm traveling, look, you can see it fits in the palm of your hand. It's so easy to travel with. With its multiple HDMI ports, I just simply plug it into the TV in my RV or hotel room, and I have as much computing power as I need to even produce my Cocktails with Cav show on the road. So if you're in the market for a PC, please check out our affiliate link in the description. It is so incredibly inexpensive, you're not going to believe it. So do yourself a favor, go click that affiliate link and check it out. You'll be glad you did.
I walked back through to the bedroom to the man weeping on the floor. I had no words. There were no words for this. What words could there be? Sorry? Sorry? Sorry is utterly useless. I watched him for a while before padding up to the man and sitting cross-legged by him. I lifted his head and shoulders from the floor. I took the man in my arms and I held him. I let him pour the hurt out of himself as he broke down again and again. I rocked him like the tormented child he was in that moment, and I held him tight as he released the feelings that needed to be felt. I rested my cheek now on his before speaking to him. I promise you this, Will. I swear this to you. They will pay by all that is holy or unholy. They will pay. I swear, whatever it takes, the right or the wrong, they will be brought to judgment for this.
Oh yeah, that's welcome back, guys. That was a clip from one of your many great 177 episodes. But yeah, that was overly dramatic.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, that was
149. A werewolf
yeah.
feels grief, if I remember correctly.
That was the first time that Will, our psychopathic creature, has actually felt any level of emotion. So it was kind of a massive deal and a massive kind of breaker in his character. He's learned that he's a father, and then the moment he finds he's a father, he's then shown that he basically has his children taken away from him and the woman he loves, and he's never known love before, and he's never known the love of a father before, and it's taken away. And then you have the great professor sat there swearing they're supposed to be enemies, really, but he's like, we're not going to let this happen, we're not going to let this get away with it. And it was an incredible moment because it was the first time I'd ever wrote that kind of process with them. And everyone that listens to the podcast, they always stop at that point. And I've had a few hundred people contact me saying it's a really emotional bit of the podcast. And I can't do it too often because it's a lot, but yeah, it's a fantastic bit. Yeah, Greg does amazing in it.
Well, thank you, and obviously you too. I mean, the amount of emotion that got poured out during that episode, it was extraordinary. It was very real. Excuse me, very visceral, and it really brought to the fore, I think, the variety that there is within this show from one episode to the next. And I think it's been mentioned to Fen and it's been mentioned to me. Never quite sure what you're going to do with us next week, you guys, because am I going to tune in and have my heart broken like in that episode, or am I going to tune in, how old do I sound? There are listeners out there who don't know what tuning in means. Sorry about that. I'm not going to scream that podcast. And am I going to get my heart broken, or am I going to be horrified by something that's going on, or am I just going to laugh my socks off for half an hour? And some of the episodes, it's all three, right? But sometimes, you'll get a week that very, very much focuses in on sort of one of those aspects or another. It does keep you guessing. It keeps us really on our toes as writers as well, which is great fun. It's very challenging.
Oh, and I tell you, that is just one of the. I feel emotionally invested already after that clip. I need to know what's going on.
Yeah, it's it was a big step. We also had to sit down and work out how we made more werewolves and did all that kind of stuff as well afterwards. But yeah, as I say, it was the first time he'd ever felt any kind of level of emotion, so it was a massive deal for the characters. So yeah, it was a brilliantly acted, and listening to it again, it just seemed a lot heavier than I remember it being.
Well, it seemed like it seemed like it had a pull, that's for sure. But and I tell you, you can't discount, like you said, just that perfect blend of drama versus humor, that dark humor. Heck, I tell you what, just as another clip, one of my favorites, I have to play it for the audience, man. The Kittens of Doom. Well,
Kittens of
And this is going to be the best.
She said as she looked deep into my eyes.
I wish I had your imagination, Will.
She laughed. She looked out, a face of joy and intrigue, and clicked her fingers. The ground became covered in thousands of little fluffy bodies. They were everywhere and just flooded across the floor. The sea of fluffy things lapped at the base of the dome, and only upon close investigation did I see that it was made up, of course, of kittens. A tiny white Persian kitten with big blue eyes met my gaze with, that cat's kind of confidence. It was so cute it made my little black heart skip a beat. That was until it leapt at the barrier, baring its claws. They were outstretched and were just really big fucking claws. They were not of a congruent size to the wee beastie, and when it went to bite me, its mouth was bigger and wider than its fucking head and had rows of teeth in it like those of a shark. As it struck the dome at neck height, I must admit I kind of reeled back. Scared, and it slid down the dome, confused and scrambling and trying to claw at the pink wall of fire. When it reached the bottom, it just resumed being a really cute kitten, but now with really sad eyes. What the fuck are those? I shouted.
Kittens of Doom.
Kittens of Doom.
Yes.
So I have to ask, and I'm sure the audience would want to know as well, what was the impetus for the Kittens of Doom? Fen, your head injury was at it again, I take it. No.
Yes, it was a drunken moment. No, the main character was fighting some bodyguards of a vampire, and Lucifer came along, bless her, the devil that supports us, and to take out one of these bodyguards, she created the vicious Kittens of Doom. And you heard Lucy's voice there, which is Greg's wife, and it's her favorite bit of all the episodes is the Kittens of Doom. Do you want to add any to that, Greg? Or
no, I mean, it was just, we were in the middle of having an absolutely outrageous time with the characters, putting them through impossible stuff, and trying to come up with the most incredible and over-the-top scenarios for them to fight their way through. And eventually we found ourselves thinking, well, they need some sort of divine intervention here, but we didn't know what it would look like. And then came up with Kittens of Doom, and I showed the script to Dee, my wife, and I said, you're going to get to deliver this line. And she looked at it and she was like, perfect. So the devil, by the way, for the audience, is Lucy Fur. So that was another thing that sort of came up in the creative process, because as I recall, you actually wrote some lines for Lucifer, and the intention was for me to read them.
Yeah.
And then we got Dee to read them, and it was like, why does Lucifer have to? In our world, Lucifer can be anything he or she would choose to be. and it's really worked out brilliantly.
We've decided that Lucifer is the most attractive thing for you, so it can be male, female, or whatever you're into. But so Dee plays Lucifer, who is this amazingly looking but slightly manipulative person. She doesn't do anything horrific herself, but she gets everyone else around her to do horrific things. With a voice like that, you'd do anything, wouldn't you?
Oh, well, guys, do you have any... Give us some heads up as we approach this, our Halloween special celebrating your show. Do we have any scoop for Cocktails with Cav of where some of the drama might be going and with the episodes?
To be honest, we don't really know. We're in the north of Scotland at the moment, in Sligo, which is the back end of nowhere. And the Professor and Will hate each other, and we know they're going to meet. Are we allowed to talk about the game show?
Yeah, why not? Let's put some
We've done karaoke. We've done a number of things, and we both have a favourite presenter called Noel Edmonds back from the 80s. And what we're going to do is he is a demon from hell. We've met him before, and he is going to improvise over a game show where they're going to find out who is the worst person that has ever lived. And two of the contestants, one of them is going to be Will and one's going to be the Professor. But we also have another character, Bosworth, who is the genie, who is going to bring this all together to happen. And they're going to have a bad person off, but neither of them think they're a bad person. So they're both sat there really upset that they've been chosen for this game show. And people like, who should we say, spurious things like Hitler and Stalin haven't. So that's the next step, and I've even got the title music made, and it's absolutely awesome. So yeah, it's gonna be fun.
Well, we're gonna have to definitely look forward to it. Oh, geez, guys, I tell you what, for a Halloween special, you cannot go wrong. We even got some insight into a sneak peek, as it were. But ladies and gentlemen, if you have not had a chance, get yourself online, Spotify, and a lot of other platforms that carry your high quality podcast. But the Werewolf, the podcast with these two guys, over 177 episodes. You've got a lot of catching up to do. And of course, the links will be right in the description of the show. But geez, guys, I tell you what, I am so looking forward to what's coming down the pipe. Wish you guys a lot of continued great success with this podcast, because it's just some incredible work, and I can't say enough about it. So, guys, I'll tell you what, from down here in the United States, where it's scary just being American half the time.
Cheers. Cheers, and have a good Halloween, everybody.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween, everybody.